So today's story is kind of weird. It happened actually in my science class at school. Now, this was a very, very recent one. It happened about 2 years ago. Okay, so not entirely very recent, but it did happen 2 years ago. I was actually in 8th grade, and I was in my science class, and I was with this teacher, and you guys will hear stories about her in the future because she was a bit sketchy. But anyway, so I was in science class, and it was in my 8th grade year, and I was just with my friends. And we were actually talking about like geology, which is like the story about rocks, and just like talking about rocks and how they form and what's made up in rocks and how you can like determine which rock is which and whatever. So we were just kind of doing that. We were doing geology, and every classroom in my school actually has a speaker in it so that people can like receive school-wide announcements and whatever, and just know when stuff needs to be happening and whatever. So each classroom has a speaker in it, and it has a panic button in it. So what happened was there was a speaker, and it started like calling out this announcement, and it said that there was a lockdown happening. And this was kind of weird. Like, we don't ever have lockdowns in our school because our school is like really like safe, I guess. People just don't really target my school because it's one of the more safer schools out there. But anyway, we had this lockdown, and I didn't really know what was going to go on. So normally when there's a lockdown, or we have like a lockdown drill, the entire class will actually like go to like one corner of the room and kind of just like huddle down, which I don't think is a very legit way to like handle a lockdown. But anyway, everyone usually goes to the corner and like huddles down. But this teacher, she had something different. So the speaker calls out that there's a lockdown. Everyone is kind of like freaking out, like what's going on? And the teacher does not follow lockdown procedure, so she just continues to teach about rocks. And so we're just sitting there not knowing whether or not we're going to be okay, and my teacher just continues to talk about rocks. So here we are. We're all sitting here with the door, I'm pretty sure, completely unlocked, and I was actually right next to the door, which was even kind of more nerve-wracking. But we were just talking about rocks while this is all happening. So my teacher is just kind of like, whatever, it's no big deal, it's fine, nothing will happen, and it'll be fine, you guys will be fine. And after about 10 minutes of this happening, like none of us were paying attention. We're all just wondering what's going to happen to us as we're in this classroom when there's someone in the school. And so we're all just like, oh crap, what's going on? So the lockdown ends, okay? And we're all just like, okay, sweet, I'm glad we're not dead, and I'm glad we're safe. And so the school day just goes on as normal, and the class ends, and we're all just kind of like wondering what happened. And then we hear later what happened. So we actually have a community college that's nearby our school, and this is pretty decently big community college. And so what happened was there was some sketchy guy in the college who had like a machete or like a dagger or something, and was like, I don't know what he was doing, but he was just like really sketchy. And so they called down a lockdown on every single campus that was around that, just because there's like this dude with like a machete in there, which I guess it's good because it's no small matter to have someone with a weapon on like any school campus. But there was this guy, and apparently he had a knife and was like wearing like dark clothes and like just really creepy and whatever. So that was a weird experience because like she didn't follow procedure at all when there was a dude carrying this huge knife around. And but we were all in our classroom just wondering if we're about to die, but hey, it was all okay and we're still alive. And I'm not entirely sure why my teacher decided to do that. She doesn't actually teach at the school anymore. She left for someone else, but she is just kind of a sketchy teacher, and there's going to be another story about her coming up pretty soon. Well, I don't know when I'm going to be able to upload it, but there is another story about her, and I'll tell you guys what that is later. But that was the story of my lockdown experience. Fortunately, it wasn't more serious than it was because I was right next to the door, and who knows what would have happened. But anyway, guys, that is the story of my lockdown. Thank you guys for watching, and if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like. Let's try to go for 20 likes this time. And guys, I will see you guys in another story. See you guys.